Hello friends, and welcome to this video in which we are going to talk about the Marg online solution. In this video we are going to cover certain topics like what are we going to discuss, what is it, brief introduction of how it works, what are its advantages and disadvantages, and how to implement it. So we are going to talk about the Marg online solution. By the name itself, you must have figured out that it is a process through which different branches using Marg at different locations can work live on one Marg software itself from literally anywhere through the internet. Now let's understand how does Marg online solution works. At the server location on the server system, the Marg software of the customer will be installed. On the server system, App Anywhere application must be installed. With App Anywhere, an exe will be prepared for the customer, and that exe will be provided to the customer at his place. Now, what is exe? Exe is a file on which if the customer clicks, then he will be redirected to the server desktop. However, he won't be able to access the whole server desktop. Through App Anywhere in the server system, only some application, in our case Marg Software application, will be assigned to the customer to access. But if the server system wants, then it can assign certain other applications as well, like Notepad, Calculator, etc. So suppose if Notepad, Calculator and the customer's Marg Software application is assigned in the customer's exe, and when the customer will click on that exe at his place, then these three applications will be in front of his screen which he can access. So the customer can click on the exe and run Marg from anywhere. Whatever transaction and working will be done on that Marg is actually being done on the server system where his Marg is installed. So therefore the working is being saved in the server system. Now that same exe the customer can copy and paste on multiple systems and at different branches at any location, like at his home, his personal laptop, etc. Now multiple operators at multiple branches can work on the same Marg simultaneously, and the working will be getting saved on the server system where the customer's Marg is installed. Spectra App Anywhere is basically a remote connection technology. So Spectra App Anywhere remote desktop connection is a technology in Spectra App Anywhere that allows you to sit at a computer, say customer computer, and connect to a remote computer, say server system, which is at a different location. For example, an employee needs to work on Marg software, but he is not at his workplace. So he just requires one exe on his laptop or system to access Marg software application. Then by double clicking on the exe file, he will be redirected to the server system and will be able to work live on his Marg software as if he is sitting in front of the server system. And similarly, simultaneously, multiple computers or laptops at different locations can work live on the same Marg. By using Spectra App Anywhere application, you can run Marg software program from anywhere through internet. Spectra App Anywhere is compatible with Windows 8, Windows 7, Windows XP, Windows Server 2012, Windows Server 2008, and Windows Server 2003. You need to provide some information for purchasing the Spectra App Anywhere license. That is computer name, static IP, product serial of Spectra App Anywhere, and the requirement of number of users. Now let's take a look at some of the advantages and disadvantages of Marg online solution. Advantages of online solution. Different branches using Marg software at different locations can work live on one Marg software itself from any location, anytime through the internet. Data is easier to manage and access. Centralized working. Easy information flow between branches, locations, departments and teams. 24/7 availability to software access. Now let's see the disadvantages. Technical problem in the server will affect the working flow of all the users who are dependent on it. Doesn't work well with low speed connections. 24/7 internet connection is required. The online solution won't work without the internet. Now let's move forward to the implementation part. So these are the requirements for implementing the online solution. You just need to install the Spectra App Anywhere application. And for Spectra App Anywhere, static IP is required. Port forwarding in 3389 port is must. .NET Framework and Java platform is required. So these are the four requirements for Spectra App Anywhere. Now let's understand what is static IP. IP is a numerical label assigned to every device for participating in computer network. When a device is assigned a static IP address, it does not change. The device always has the same IP address. Static IP is must on the server system. Spectra App Anywhere remote desktop connection does not work with dynamic IP, which can change over time. Static IP is provided by the Internet Service Provider. Next is port forwarding in 3389 port. Port forwarding. In computer networking, port forwarding or port mapping is an application of network address translation that redirects a communication request from one address and port number combination to another while the packets are traversing a network gateway, such as a router or firewall. 3389 port. By default, the server listens on TCP port 3389 and UDP port 3389. Microsoft currently refers to their official RDP server software as Remote Desktop Connection, formerly Terminal Services Client. The protocol is an extension of the ITU TT.128 application sharing protocol. Now let's understand what is .NET Framework and Java Platform. .NET Framework is a technology to support applications. So .NET Framework is a base for Anywhere app to work. .NET Framework installation file has to be downloaded and installed in the server system. Java is a computing platform. There are lots of applications and websites that doesn't work unless you have Java installed. You find Java in most devices like cell phones, computers, laptops, etc. And therefore App Anywhere is also supported by Java platform. Similarly, Java installation file also has to be downloaded and installed in your server system. Now let's implement Marg online solution. Here you see the icon of Spectra App Anywhere, which I have already installed. Here the Marg software of the customer Ahuja is installed. Now suppose we are going to create an exe for this customer Ahuja. Now before we start with the implementation of creating exes, let me clear you with certain information. Optimum 3 Mbps internet speed is required. Installation takes approximately 30 minutes. Minimum 500 GB storage is required in server system, which will be sufficient for the storage of customers' softwares. In case of formatting, reconfiguration of all the settings in the server system will be required. Now let's take a look at the steps to creating customers exe. First, create user in system. Second, create application. Third, assign application to user. And then finally create exe. So these are the four simple steps that are to be followed. So firstly we will create exe by right clicking on my computer icon. Then click on manage, local users and group. Right click and click on new user. And fill in the details of the user like username, let's say Ahuja, full name Ahuja Mishra, then password. And here you always have to check on password never expires. If you want, then you can also click on user cannot change password. If you don't want your user to change his password, then we'll click on create. And here our user Ahuja has been created. So the first step of creating user is completed. Now let's move to the next step to create application. To create application, we'll click on App Anywhere, Applications, Application Publishing, and then add new application. Now I want that whenever the customer clicks on his exe, then the application of Notepad plus his Marg software shows in front of his screen, which he can access and work on. So for that we have to create an application Notepad and Marg. So firstly, I'll create Marg software application. Define the display name, means what name do you want to get displayed here. Suppose Ahuja. And then browse the Marg software path of the customer over here. Like my customer's Marg software is installed in the D drive in this folder. So here I will select Margwin. Then here there are some options like launch this application maximized. Means if you want the application to open on full screen, then you will check on this option. If you check on launch this application minimized, then the Marg application will open in a small window. It is recommended that you launch Marg application maximized. Because if you check on launch this application minimized, then you will have to restart Marg software whenever you will minimize Marg. Means you won't be able to maximize it back again. But if you launch this application maximized, then you will be able to maximize it back again. You won't have to restart it. Now we'll save this. So here our application has been created. Similarly, I'll create Notepad application. Now we have created application. Now we will assign these applications to the user, means a customer for whom we created Notepad and Marg software application. So for that, we will click on assign application. So these are the number of users that are created in our system. Some of them are highlighted in bold, which means applications have been assigned to them. And the ones which are not in bold means no applications have been assigned to them. Now I want to assign application to Ahuja. So I'll click on Ahuja, select the programs that I want to assign to him. Like one is his Marg and the other is Notepad. And you always have to check on floating panel while assigning applications to any user. Means floating panel must always be assigned. Another important thing you must remember is that never check on Microsoft Remote Desktop, else the user will be able to access the whole desktop, not just Marg and Notepad, but the whole server system. So you must always uncheck this. Now after assigning the application, we will cancel this. If you want to check, then you will click here again. And here you see now Ahuja user is highlighted in bold. And these are the applications that are assigned to him. Now we will follow the last step, that is create exe. To create exe, we will click on the server tab, client generator. Then this dialog box appears where we create exes. Firstly, we will define the static IP of a system and define 3389 port over here, which is must. If in case this field is blank, then you can click here on server WAN IP. Find my IP address and copy your WAN IP and paste it over here. In user login and password, we set the same username and password which we have defined while creating new user. And then there are other tabs like display. Here you can customize display settings for your client, like the graphic settings and the resolution. It is recommended that you select full screen. Then is local resources tab. First is disk. You have to keep this option ticked so that the client can use the universal printer. And at the time of file saving, you will be asked to define the path or location where the file has to be saved. That file will get saved on the path or location which you define while the file saving. Next is printers. We will keep this also checked so that the client can take printout, and also keep USB devices checked. Next is universal printer option. First is preview with the local PDF reader. Means if you want that the client should first get the preview of his printout in his system's PDF reader, Then you will check on preview with the local PDF reader. Next is print on default printer. If you check on this, then whenever the client will give print command, then the printout will come from his default printer. Means whichever default printer he has set for his system. Next is select the local printer. Means if there are n number of printers at the client's place, and if we check here on this option, then the client will have to select that from which printer does he want to get the printout. So accordingly you will select from here. Next tab is program. You don't have to do any setting over here. We'll leave this blank and move forward to the next tab, security. The security level is such in this app that if you want, then you can only set one laptop or one computer system for one particular exe. That exe won't work on any other system. It will only work on the system whose PC name and hard disk serial number is defined here. Like suppose the exe that we are creating for Ahuja, we want that this exe to only run on his laptop. So I'll define his laptop name over here. Now how to find the computer or laptop name? For that, the client for whom we are creating this exe will right click on my computer, properties, and here is the computer name. The same we will define here. Next, how will you find serial number of the client's hard disk? For that, the client will need to install a software called AIDA64 Extreme. You can find the disk serial number from this software. You will click on storage, logical drives, and here you will find your local disk serial number. The same you will copy and paste here. Then check on lock it. So this exe will only run on this disk serial number and on this PC name. For now we'll unlock this. Next is gateway portal. We'll leave this blank. We don't have to do any setting here. Down here is client name. This is the name of the exe that we are creating. We can change it if we want. We can also browse an icon. Now we will click on create client. And a client exe is created, which you can see at my desktop. Now this same exe you can provide to your customer. So these are the applications which we created and assigned in this exe. Now from here you can run Notepad and the Marg software. Now multiple systems can copy this exe and access these applications and run them. If you want to see how many users are running exes, then you can see from the license tab. Here in connections, right now it shows 0. Means no users are currently working on this server. So friends, in this way we learned about Marg online solution and how to implement it. So hope you liked this video. Thank you.